Welcome to our latest episode of Apertif. Today we've got Chef Oli Martin with us. Thanks for joining us, Oli.
Thanks for having me.
No, pleasure, mate, pleasure. Who's currently chef and owner of Aven Restaurant in Preston.
That's right.
Sunny Preston. Yeah, we're keeping it in the north still.
Absolutely.
So thanks for joining us, mate. Really appreciate you coming up for this recording. So we've had a quick chat. We've been talking about all things from MasterChef through to opening your own place up in Preston, through to your time at Hipping Hall. So we're going to roll it all the way back to your young sort of time as a young lad, as a young chef, learning your trade, all to everything that you're sort of doing now. So very quickly, mate, tell us a little bit about Aven Restaurant, if that's all right. Your latest venture is it fine dining? Is it not? Is it?
Yeah, no, definitely.
Dining,
Yeah, I mean, although we don't like to say it too much.
That's the thing. I don't like saying fine dining anymore because
No.
people sometimes look at you and they go, yeah, don't
Well,
like
that's
using
it.
that phrase. But
We like to coin the phrase approachable fine
approachable
dining.
dining,
Approachable
very nice,
fine
mate.
dining.
Yeah.
so yeah, obviously it's a tiny restaurant
Yep.
in centre of Preston. We've got 8 tables in there, so we
Yep.
sort of max out at about 24, 26 covers. And yeah, it's open 4 days a week. We just roll off one sort of set tasting menu, which we offer in sort of varying sizes, two different sizes.
So how long have you had that place now for?
So Aven is, well, it sort of got relaunched. Originally it was 263.
Yes, correct, yeah.
And then, so that's sort of been going for, coming up to 4 years.
Right, okay.
And then, it got relaunched last October as Aven Restaurant, where myself and Alex, who's my business
The name
partner.
comes from...
Avon and Park, which is literally just around the corner from us.
Right, okay,
Yeah,
so
Stone's throw.
local provenance for that.
That's
Nice.
right,
Fair
yeah.
enough,
So,
mate.
just tied in with that, and I thought, Avon, it's got a nice sort of
Yeah, it's nice.
ring to it. Yeah, simple word.
Beautiful, mate. No, good stuff. So, obviously, we'll get into that later in the podcast. First of all, we're going to have a little aperitif.
Perfect.
To start the day with a little glass of champagne. So today we're going to go with producer of ours called Elamar Robion. So this is an organic champagne, so fully organic conversion. The family here are based in a small village called Lery, which is in the Valley de l'Ard region of Champagne, which is sort of northwest of Flams. So this is mainly Meunier. So the third most sort of sexy grape in the Champagne region. So 70% Meunier, 20% Pinot Noir. 20% Chardonnay, 10% Pinot Noir. And this is one of our newest producers in our portfolio. So these guys are a family business. So Elamart, the name itself, is a blend of the 3 children of the family. So Eloire, Leopold, and Martin.
Right.
And they've made the name Elamar. So VBO3 is the name of the wine, and that basically stands for Vin Biologique, which is the 3rd ever release that they've done, which is fully organic, fully biodynamic. So really interesting wine, really rich in texture and in flavour, and yeah, thought it'd be a nice little start to the day, mate.
Fantastic.
So cheers to that. Thanks for joining us. And
having me,
enjoy.
yeah.
Beautiful.
Okay, yeah, can't say no on a Tuesday morning, can you?
Hey, there we go. Yeah,
It's midday now.
midday. Well, it's Friday. It's actually Friday when it gets announced, isn't it? So we're going to release on Fridays, mate. So technically, it's a Friday. It's a Friday glass.
It's a Friday glass, then,
But,
yeah. Can't
Tuesday
say no
morning,
to
really,
a
innit?
Friday,
Yeah,
then.
let's be real. Oh, gosh, that is good.
That's absolutely delightful.
Beautiful. So there we go, mate. That'll settle us in.
Yeah, 100%.
So let's roll it back then, mate. Let's go back to 16, 17-year-old lad. How did you? How did you first get involved in cooking in the kitchen?
Yeah, I guess winding it right back to the beginning. So a bit of a funny story, really. It was at the time I was about 14.
Yeah.
And one of my friends was sort of trying to get basically a part-time job. So he'd gone around a few sort of local restaurants and handed his phone number in for a little pot washing position. I was just out with him at the time. Yeah. And we got to, I guess one of the poshest restaurants in the area, which is called Chicory. It was,
is this Preston area or local?
No, so Lytham's where I'm from originally, yeah. So it was a little one rosette restaurant, and he'd sort of gone in the front door and went to hand over his phone number, and then they said, are you applying for the position as well, which I had absolutely no intention of, but just thought, why not? So I gave him my phone number, and anyway, they ended up ringing me and not him.
So you took the job. Brilliant.
So, there must have been something about me then. But so anyway, I got the job. Luckily, I got him a job a couple of months later on. Right. So it wasn't,
so you
it wasn't
repaid
all
the
love
favour.
lost.
You didn't just steal his job, and he could have been on MasterChef. And
He
not
could
you
well have
if he
been,
took the job first.
He could well have been, yeah.
So for those that don't know, so especially people that maybe not from the north that are listening, so Lytham is like what, posh part of Blackpool?
Yeah, I mean that's. It's one way of putting it, yeah. I don't know how many people you'd offend saying that.
Well, I know. So I will offend a few people in this podcast. You'll be all right.
Oh, 100%. But no, yeah, it's we're down the road. So
yeah,
from Blackpool,
it's sort of that area of the country, really. Yeah,
yeah, definitely.
On the coast, yeah. No, it's a nice part of the world, to be fair.
It's beautiful, yeah. It's a beautiful place.
So you got giggers, Potwash, Chicory Restaurant.
Yeah, and then I guess I enjoyed the hustle and bustle of it all. Enjoyed the atmosphere of the kitchen. Used to go in and have my 2 shifts a week on a Thursday night and a Saturday night. And just like I said, I really enjoyed it. Every shift was totally different. And then, pretty much coming up to the time I was leaving school, and I didn't really have an idea of what I wanted to do. And then I just thought, well, why not? I'll give it a go. I've enjoyed my time doing some pots here and there. And they started giving me a few little prep jobs. I was prepping the small mountains of baby veg that used to come through the doors and whatnot. So, I had a little bit of a handle on it. And enjoyed it, and I guess art was my only good subject at school. Okay. So I guess I saw a little bit of artistic flair in there.
Sure.
And so I went and joined up, did an apprenticeship with them. So I finished off my final GCSE, and started my apprenticeship that day. And the day we did it, I basically got on my moped, I drove to work. I started at about 4:00, thinking I was just pot washing for the evening. But little did I know we were opening a cafe the next day.
Right.
I was sent over to the cafe, and then I finished work at 6 a.m. the next day. That was my first shift as a full-time
straight
chef.
in the industry. That's how you learn it.
100%. Yeah. So, and then I just loved it. And it was a great place to sort of get my grounding in skills. It was owned by 3 chefs and a waiter. Right. Yeah. So there's chefs come from all sorts of different backgrounds, from fine dining to more casual. There's a French chef who've been sort of super fine dining. Okay. So their backgrounds was like America, Australia, and obviously France. You could learn off stuff.
Did your mate stay with it or not? Did your mate stay in the industry or
he did and he didn't? Yeah, he left in the end, and then when he joined the army, then I think he left the army, and I think he was a chef again for a bit, and I don't know what he's up to these days.
Brilliant, love it, mate.
So it was like I said, it was a great place. They'd just opened a cocktail bar there. Right. They just opened a sort of cafe which had like a massive patisserie counter, and then they have this sort of fine dining restaurant, and then they had a catering company as well. Right. So it was like everything from cafes to patisserie to fine dining. And you knew pretty early
that this was your industry, what you wanted to do as a 16, 17-year-old lad. You just pretty much straight away.
Just ticking loads of boxes, and getting that sort of learning. No 2 days were the same. Like some weeks you'd go in and you'd be working in the restaurant for a week, and then the next week you'd be in the cafe, and then next week you'd be off doing a wedding. It was like just that good
mix.
Fun.
As a young lad, exciting, something different, and
100%, 100%.
Fair enough. So you did your apprentice, you learnt a little bit of your trade.
Yep.
Then you do a bit of did you get sent off to France or?
So basically I finished up my apprenticeship. I did about a year at the restaurant, and then one of the head chef at the time, he had a friend that was working in France, had just taken over a restaurant there. Nice. So he said, do you want to go work for the summer, basically? So I thought, why not? Let's go do something different. So was it. I jumped on the plane with my girlfriend at the time. Yeah. She went and did some front of house work, and then I was in the kitchen. It was it was fantastic. Again, like every morning you go picking up your fresh produce from the market, and you're into the kitchen and cooking.
Did you see a different side of things as soon as you went to France in terms of how they? I think it was over there and stuff. Or?
No. I think there's obviously massive sort of similarities, and then again it was just that sort of big change, like. Heading off to the market to go handpick all your vegetables in the morning.
From a culture point of view, how did you find that as a young lad from the north of England going straight into...
Well, it was funny, I mean, obviously I was a young lad.
Whereabouts in France? Was it south of France? Or?
Yeah, right in the south. So we flew into Perpignan, and then it was about half an hour sort of north of there. So it's a tiny village called Elm, which is, I don't think anyone will have ever heard of it or been
just
to
like
it.
asking the French if they'd heard of Lytham St Anne's then maybe.
Exactly, At least we've got the golf in Lytham.
Oh, yeah, true, It's famous for a few things, isn't it?
But so it was, I literally gone over there, didn't have a penny to my name, and was living in a tent whilst I was doing it as a campsite, sort of, 10 minutes down the road. Oh. So I used to was living in a tent the whole time.
How long did you spend there? Just a summer season, few months?
Yeah, so I think it was about 4 months in total. Okay. Nice. Which was great. The chef that was there at the time, he was previously at Danielle, which was in New York. That was a 2 Michelin star restaurant. Nice. And you know, so it was fantastic sort of
people
skills.
Off again then at that young age.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, 100%. So just sort of soaking everything up like a little sponge.
Yeah, and I suppose at that age, what was it that you were sort of thinking about in terms of your career? Was you thinking that I want to do this for the rest of my life, or was you thinking that I want to have my own place, or was you thinking that I just wanted to work as high up as I possibly could? Like, what was you thinking as like a young lad there in the middle of, like you said, camping in the middle of this tiny little village in France, working for this acclaimed sort of chef type thing? Where's your head at? It's like, because I'm trying to think what I was doing when I was 18. Like,
it was definitely I knew that I had to go work for good people. Yeah. Like I knew that, you know, like I said, I had that good sort of grounding, but I wasn't cooking to like a high level. I was cooking to a good level. You know, for me, I really enjoyed the creative side of it. Like I've always thought like there's two sorts of chefs, and it's a rarity you get like the combination of both. When you do hold on to it, but there's the sort of chef that's the creative one, the one that's thinking the thoughts, like how's everything working, and then there's the chef that's like, you know, give him a list as big as your arm and they'll just absolutely fly through it and get it all prepped and whatnot. And you know, when you get that combination of the two, that's when I think you start to get like a great chef sort of comes from. Like, you know, you can be great in either or, but when you get both of them together, I think that's when you start to see a really good. So I think in my mind, like that's what I wanted to be. Like I wanted to be that chef. So I knew that I wanted to get, you know, really good grounding on my skills. You know, wanted to be able to understand produce, understand flavours. But I guess the main thing was I just wanted to prove my parents wrong.
Right. Fair enough.
They both told me not to be a chef. So.
Like, I'm going to say, so were they like, as a young lad growing up, you said you was into your art and stuff, but...
Yeah.
So...
I mean, I wasn't into my art.
Right, okay.
It was just shit at everything else.
You shit at everything else. So
I was quite good at drawing,
Right, fair enough. So yeah, from a parent's point of view, then what was it an expectation? Or was it maybe like people looking at it and think, oh, don't want you to go into that industry because it's notoriously difficult, or because...
Yeah, definitely. I think it was. I think both from, and previously in their families, there are people that worked in hospitality, and I think, you know, they knew the struggles of it. They knew they knew that I'd be working every Friday night, every Saturday night, and I'd be missing events, and you know, it's
time with time, and
100%. And I think, you know, you need that when you're young, don't you? You need to be able to go to the pub with your mates on a Friday night and whatnot. And I think they knew that I'd want that at the same time as obviously wanting to be a chef. So I guess for me, it was like a big, you know, I've got to prove that I've done the right thing here, and so I need to work at good places to be good at what I'm doing. But really,
you proved it wrong in the end, mate. Surely.
Well, we'll find out, won't we? The clock's ticking.
Love it, mate. Love it. So yeah, you got back from France. Then you came back home.
Yes.
First gig over in the UK. Then after coming back from France, you ended up. Where did you end up?
At Northcote. Yeah. Right, so obviously the chef in France said, you know, the summer had finished, and he just said, you know, go get into a Michelin-starred restaurant.
What a better place to be if you're from northwest sort of Lancashire region? Is Northcote.
Northcote, so. the flagship of Lancashire. So so obviously that was obviously the first pick for me.
Was Nigel the head chef then, or was it Lisa, or was it?
So it was like just a sort of crossover stage. I think Lisa had just taken the reins. You know, Nigel was still about.
So we're talking what? 2010, 2011 time?
Yeah, it's about right. Yeah. I'd have to look at my CV to get the exact.
Should have brought it with you, mate. We could have gone through it at the time. Like.
All merges into one. But yeah, so it, joined up there, walked in. You know, I was just back in those sort of days. You're getting paid pennies, and walked into the kitchen. The whole time I was working at the first restaurant, I've worked my way up, and I was like a chef de partie by the time I was I was 17, and everyone was saying how good I was, and I could put specials on the menu, and then went over to Northcote and expected everyone to be like, oh, you're really good, but it was the total opposite. Like it was, 100%. It was just like forget what you know.
So you knew pretty early then. People were telling you you're decent then pretty early. It was like, is that what
yeah. I guess a few people sort of said it and.
For me, who's obviously not a chef, what is it that is it a natural palate? Is it discipline? Is it creativity? Is it a mix of everything? Like, how do you know you're good at cooking? Like, I don't know.
I think it is that, question, but I think it's easy to see. Like we see it now, and you see the young people. It's just being passionate. If you're passionate, if you want to learn something,
can you train your palate?
Yeah, you can. Yeah, you can definitely train your palate 100%.
But you still have to have that natural element.
I think it helps, doesn't it? It definitely helps if you know what you're looking for. If you can almost like, I think I've always thought I've got quite a good way of, I can like look at flavours and almost be like, I know that these all work together, sort of thing. And I think,
so what, without tasting, so you can look at
a you can almost like create dishes in my head and taste the dish in my head, if you will. I mean, don't get me wrong, it's not always perfect, but with a good grounding, I think a lot of chefs can sort of get to that stage anyway. It's not like it's this elite stage of cooking, but I think it's and I think I got that quite early on. Like I think I started to understand the flavours early on.
And then you've gone into Northcote, maybe not been knocked down a peg, but
I guess it was just starting again, like 100%. It was like you walk in and you think you know stuff, but then it was like you're learning everyone else's ways of knowing stuff. And I guess I probably did go in and I did know a lot of things, but it's just everyone's perception, I guess, of how things. And
you got some big characters in the kitchen. Obviously, you got Nigel, you got Lisa that's coming into the head chef role and probably trying to maybe stamp her authority on her style on dishes. So how is that going into a kitchen with some big personalities, but as a young lad who's wanting to learn, but also maybe, like you said, he's been told that you're pretty decent and maybe have a few ideas yourself type thing. I don't know, how was that going into the Northcote kitchen?
It was I guess it was it was a bit of a bit of a kick up the arse, not a breath of fresh air. The exact opposite. It was a kick up the arse, and I think it then made me realise like I've got a lot to learn still, like, and I need to get a solid ground in because although I felt like I was young, it was your clock does tick quickly, and I think as a chef, like I think you feel like you want to be somewhere by the time you're 25. Before you're 30, you want to be getting on that head chef role. So at the time I was sort of 18, 19, and I thought I've got some learning to do here, and I need to get my teeth into it.
And what was it? Was it technique? Was it?
It was everything.
Just a bit of everything.
Technique, understanding produce and flavours, and bringing all that together. And I guess then it would start having that bit of sort of philosophy as well. Nigel's obviously, he was very sort of Lancashire led with a lot of his things. So again, it was that bringing in even more like local suppliers. Someone turning up at the back door with bloody 200 pheasants you need to pluck, and it was that sort of thing where it's like, oh, there's something to this. There's this one person that's turning up to deliver one single cheese, it's one certain cheese, and there's all that, so I think it started to build my sort of ethos towards food there, and I think that was something else that again I was learning and getting a grounding for at the same time, and at the same time working in a bigger kitchen, so you're starting to learning a little bit to the management side of things.
For Michelin star players in Northcote, it's pretty big, isn't it?
Yeah, and I mean at the time I think there was about 14 chefs in the kitchen when I was there, although it always felt like you needed another 14. It was a tough environment, and I think that really sort of you put the pressure on you to learn quick. Like you had to.
So you spent a year there roughly?
I did a year there, and then after that I went up to the Lake District. So I went to Gilpin.
Nice.
It's now called Gilpin. It was Gilpin Lodge at the time. So I went there. I was working under Russell Plowman, who again come from like a fantastic background. He'd done 7 years at Waterside Inn, 3 Michelin stars, and then he was over at Lauterland, which again he was a fantastic person.
So at this
to
point,
work
you're
for.
just sort of soaking up as much as you can, I guess.
100%, and I think you need to get that grounding in, and I walked in and again started at the bottom again, so I was straight back to being a commie chef again. You're like, bloody, I was this a few years ago.
Is that commonplace as a young lad or a young chef going into new kitchens? It's like start again, even irrelevant of what you've done in your previous place, or
I think I don't know.
Is that based on each chef or what?
I think it's one of those. Like it depends where you go to, but I think it's a bit less so now. It definitely felt it felt like that when I was sort of coming through the ranks, if you will. But I think more so now. I think people they want a bit more of those titles, or they're a bit more precious about them. So
he's come up from Russell's come up from
Waterside.
From Waterside. How's he ended up at the Lakes?
Do you know what? I never really got how he ended up there. To be honest, it was
obviously more thinking about, because we're focusing the first series we're speaking with people from the Northwest. It's really interesting when I'm speaking to people about their experiences in the North and how people have travelled to more now in the last sort of couple of years, people are travelling into venues up in the north.
Yeah.
But you're talking, what, 10, 12 years ago?
Yeah,
This guy's come from a 3-star, one of the biggest establishments in the world, never mind just the UK, to come and work up in the north. It's just interesting.
Yeah, it was. So I think it was like, I think basically he'd sort of come to a point where he was leaving. He was at Lawland at the time. And he's come to a point where he was leaving there, and I think he'd spoken to a couple of agencies, and one of them had just said, this position's come up at Gilpin, like, I think you'd be good for it. And I think at the time he didn't even think, I'm ready for head chef and I'm ready for that. But they were like, go and interview for it. And I think when he did, I think he'd obviously interviewed really well, and he was a fantastic chef, really good chef. And
so how did he compare to, say, a Nigel then as a boss? So you go from somebody that's built his own institution, Nigel within Northcote, to I'm guessing a younger guy, Russell, at the time, come from a 3-star background to have his first head chef role, maybe.
Yeah, definitely. Like, it was his first head chef role. Yeah, but I mean, you saw it. Do you know what I mean? Like, you saw when it comes to Northcote. When I went to Northcote, and they're like, "Oh, we'll put on, the pheasant and grapefruit dish again." And everyone's like, "Oh, right, taking all the notes." I'm like, fuck you on about the pheasant and grapefruit. But obviously they've done all these dishes in the past. They know they had this repertoire, what works. Whereas with Russell, he was, I guess, at the stage where I was at when I was at Hipping Hall, where he was finding his style and finding his feet, and he was playing with those flavours and creating his own sort of dishes, if you will. So, it was two totally different places in terms of that. But I guess, I sort of thrived off that. Like, I enjoyed being in the shit all the time, and I enjoyed everything, I guess, not going fully to plan, if you will, and it was
creative element again, isn't it? Of
100%,
fixed a few issues, or it's not necessarily crystal clean sort of cooking to the T. It's
exactly, it's a bit rough around the edges. It needs a little bit of refining, and and it was great for me. Like I said, I did sort of thrive in those environments, but for me, it was like, I can be part of something that's being created here. So, for me, it was two totally different places, but both of their own sort of standards. And Gilpin was just relentless in terms of, like, it was just full constantly, like, no matter the season.
Well, it's a beautiful place, isn't it? It's
like
an incredible part of the world. Like
100%, yeah. And it was just, no matter what day of the week it was like
just busy
lunch, afternoon tea, dinner, like.
Well, we went for our honeymoon because we have a place up in the lakes. So we went up for our honeymoon, and it was the chauffeur who picked us up from and he dropped us off, and he was talking. I'm a big football fan, big Man United fan, so he was talking about football in the car on the way into Gilpin, into the hotel, and he was saying how something like Sir Alex Ferguson spent like 3 months of his year there every year type thing. It was just like this incredible place where everyone just got looked after so much. It was always busy. It was like just a crazy place, and I mean, I'm guessing it's obviously developed a lot since when you was there as well. So
I mean, I don't think I'd even really recognise it now. It's totally changed. But I guess from there, it was that sort of family mentality. You know, like the Cunliffes were known, and people used to go back for them.
Yeah, of course.
And they'd sort of built that up, and I guess that was why everyone was just kept returning. You'd see the faces knocking around the building all the time, and they'd know everyone by name, and
it was hospitality experience, isn't it?
Yeah, 100%. It was just and they were just really hot on being like, having that sort of that welcoming sort of vibe, which that's something that stuck with me as well. Yeah, definitely.
So you spent 3 years there, 3 and a bit years there.
Yeah, about 3.5 years it was in total. Yeah,
and then that straight to then Hipping Hall, or was there?
No, so we did had a little break then. So I went and did sort of 3.5 months travelling around Asia.
Oh, okay, nice.
Which was great. Yeah, flew into Thailand, and then through Laos, Vietnam, and back into Thailand, back down, and through Malaysia. And it was again, it was a really nice time to just actually be like, I want to switch off, and I've been cooking since the day I left school.
I was going to say, so what age are you now roughly when you're travelling?
So I was 20. I was 23. I was when I went away.
Still young, mate. Still young. Like you said, you've left school and gone straight into work, haven't you? So you never really had that break to.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. And obviously I was getting paid pennies doing my apprenticeship, and I didn't really get any holidays in or anything. So
did you work over there then in in Asia or
not in Asia? No,
okay.
no. I spent most of the time drunk. Like, it's barely had a day sober.
Fair enough, mate. Fair enough.
No, it was great. Obviously, I just wanted to explore. To be honest, like you're in somewhere totally different, and just wanted to go out, do different things, have new experiences.
Eat scorpions and all that sort of stuff.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Go ride the elephants and learn to scuba dive and all that sort of jazz. Typical tourist.
Fair enough, mate. Fair enough.
And then flew
and came back.
Yeah, well, no, then I flew into
that's
Australia.
when you went to Australia.
Yeah.
Okay, fair enough.
So Australia was great, and obviously spent all my savings also travelling around Asia. So it was pretty much straight back to the kitchen for me over there. Which I flew into Melbourne, and went to a couple of restaurants for trials and whatnot. But I just didn't really get a good vibe I didn't really enjoy like Melbourne while I was there. So.
Okay.
And then I'd applied for a few jobs before I'd gone over and sort of said that this is when I entered the country, and one of them was Key, which was I think it was 28th best restaurant in the world or something at the time, and I just got an email off them one day, and we'd love to offer you an interview and come for a working trial. So I was just like, you can't turn that down, can you? So that was it. I pretty much packed up my stuff and jumped on a plane to Sydney. And I loved it over in Sydney. I thought it felt like it was a bit more me.
Yeah, different to Melbourne.
It had that sort of London vibe, but at the same time, like you're like a stone's throw to the beach. It was like London, Manchester, but on a beach. Like it was pretty
Blackpool.
cool. Yeah, a little bit like Blackpool. Yeah. It was like a posh Blackpool. and then so obviously I went and worked there.
Right, okay. So you took that gig, you got the
got the job and started with those. And
how was that then as a place? Was that
I just didn't enjoy it. Like it was like overly regimented for me. Like I come from working in these kitchens where you're like, you're struggling to get ready in time, but there it was just like there was
pristine,
infinite hours in the day. It was just there was like too much
massive
time.
Team then, was it? Or?
Huge. Yeah, there was 37 on the rota I counted, and it was you could barely learn everyone's names, and go in and spend the day like peeling walnuts for 7 hours, and if you've ever peeled a walnut, like you don't want to be doing it for 7 hours.
I've never peeled a walnut, and I don't fancy it either.
It's just the worst. And you have to. But you just you got to lightly roast them, and then the shells just start to come away, and then the skin just starts coming. You got to use a turning knife to go through all the little nooks and crannies. There had to be a perfect walnut at the end of it. It was, oh God, it was painful, really painful.
So how long did you survive there then, mate?
So I did about 2 weeks before I decided it's not for me.
No thanks.
And then I went over to a restaurant called Gastro Park. Again, Grant King, like I knew he was cooking.
Right.
He had a cookbook out and whatnot, and he'd won 3 hats previously. Right. So he was obviously a very sort of good chef. It was a 2-hat restaurant at the time, and I went in and he was just like an absolute nutcase. Like he was just the most like bonkers chef going. And
in what way? Just like crazy or
wild? Yeah, absolutely wild. Like
from like a nuts type.
Yeah,
the guy's mental, or is it like angry and
no.
Just like weird and off the wall type thing.
Yeah, a bit of a mixture. Like it was. I'd sort of walked in for like the first interview, and there was like Dr. Dre playing like full blast. Nice. It was like in between lunch and dinner. It was like blasting out Dr. Dre 2001. I was like, I'm into this place. And then he was just like, right, you any good? I was like, I think I'm all right. Yeah. And he's like, when can you start? I was like, I've not got a job. I've just left Key, so I'm looking for a job. He's like, right, do a trial tonight then. So I was like, all right. He was like, all right, go on then, off you go. So with that, I was just like, went home, got my whites, went back in. And then, he was like, right, go down. There was the sort of pastry section was downstairs and the main kitchen was upstairs. And it was just like, there must have been about 40 dishes on this menu. There was about 5 chefs. And it was just like each dish had about like 12 components. It was just nuts. It was absolutely nuts. He was trying to.
You enjoyed that more than the sort of sterile environment.
Oh yeah, 100%. Yeah, 100%. And it was I'd doing a little bit down in the pastry with the pastry chef there. He was like, oh, go upstairs, have a look at the kitchen upstairs. So it was like, no bigger than this room. It was about half the size of the room, this kitchen. And there was like 4 chefs, all like stuff all over the kitchen, like just absolute carnage. And then sort of walked in, and he was like, what are you doing? I was like, oh, Merrick just sent me upstairs. He was like, someone get this lad a fucking beer. So he was like, one of the lads was like, you know, cooking something in a pan. And he'd like leaned over, opened the drawer, opened this bottle, like passed it over without even like looking at me.
Class.
Just stood in the middle of the kitchen with a beer, like, what the hell is this place? Like, it was absolutely nuts. But he was like, you know, brilliant, super creative chef. You know, just coming out with these like nuts flavour combinations and
the Australian food scene. Sort of, how does that compare to say your experience in the UK and your experience in France? How is it different?
Yeah, I think at the time, like, I feel like they were a bit in front of sort of England. Like, I feel like we're caught back up again now. But I feel like at the time when I was there, like, you know, going back like over 10 years now, so it was, you know, it was a bit in front of what I'd say English food was or British food was, and you know, it was still trying to. I don't think it really has like sort of found its sort of feet in terms of what it's meant to be like Australian cooking. I think it has done a hell of a lot more now. But yeah, it was
said to offend more people. You can say that about Australia as a country as itself.
Yeah, they've got no idea what they are. But no, I think it was fresh. It was dynamic over there, and it was like, you know, you're just surrounded by like, you know, fantastic produce, you know, people that are passionate, doing interesting things, and you know, obviously you're on the border but you know, you're around the corner from Asia, so you know, tapping into all that, and you know, got people from all these totally different, you know, even going to New Zealand, like it's totally different to Australia. So you got all these like bonkers cooking styles, like all sort of merging into, you know, creating what I guess was sort of Australian cuisine at the time, and it was, you know, definitely that sort of mix of fusion, and you know, molecular gastronomy was hot, so there's a load of that going on, and but yeah, I guess I feel like it's evolved a lot even further now, and I think it's, you know, gone with what a lot of people have done and followed that sort of bit more of a Nordic and tapping into the heritage of the food than what it was.
So in terms of then coming back home, so you spent a bit of time in Asia travelling, a bit of time working in Australia. You then what was the decision to come back home?
I guess it was a tough one. I guess I had you know, my wife at the time.
Right. Okay.
Well, not at the time. Sorry, my wife now. She was going to be my wife at the time. But you know, she was doing a sort of nursing. She was at university doing nursing.
In the UK.
Yes. Yeah. So she got super lucky actually. She got a placement and you can pick anywhere you want to go do a placement. She was like, I'll go to Australia. They were like, all right then.
Oh, fair enough.
So yeah, so it was great. So she actually got to come over for a month while I was there, and then I guess it was like, you know, I think at that stage I was like, you know, I want to be with this gal.
Fair enough, mate.
She seems all right, and so I thought, you know, I think I was getting to that age. I was, you know, 25 or 24, 25, and I was like, you know, it's a good time to get back to England and start trying to put the roots in to do my own thing, really.
So did you get the job at Hipping Hall before you came home, or was it a case of coming home and then see what happens?
Exactly, yeah. I guess I managed to save up a bit of money whilst I was in Australia. I guess totally skipped over working for a catering company over there, but that was quite a lucrative. You know, filled my pockets, and so you know, I come back and I was like, I'm not in a rush to pick something. I'll take a bit of time to sort of chill out and you know, pick what's right for me, really.
Nice.
Which was quite nice. Yeah, it was a nice sort of stage to be at, and you know, I knew I wanted to sort of be at least senior in a kitchen.
You ready for that next step then when you came home? And
100%, 100%, and then obviously the position came up at Hipping Hall, so I went up there. That was for the sous chef position, and again, it was just. I just got that sort of feel straight away. Like the second I sort of drove down the driveway, I was like, "Wow, this place is special." Yeah, like it was a beautiful setting. And you know, I went in there, and it's had this sort of, you know, it's like 16th century building, so it was like absolutely, you know, stunning. Sort of everything was just beautiful about it. Just its own sort of magical charm.
So you knew pretty much straight away. Yeah, sounds like a place for me,
this is me. Yeah, it's going to be me. So it was, you know, got in and obviously I took the role as sous chef there, and then. You know, it started in, I think it was the April, I think it was, and then by the time it got to December, the head chef had decided he wanted to leave the kitchen. He had his third child on the way, and it was you know, it was his job or his wife. I think it was the ultimate.
He chose his wife.
Yeah, fair one. It's a safe choice, especially with 3 kids.
Yeah, definitely. Good for you though, because then you took the
exactly. So
and
it sort of worked
history.
out. Exactly, the rest is history. Yeah.
Right, fair enough. So Hipping Hall's a place, and you've got in, and you've got the head chef role probably maybe a bit quicker than you was expecting, or?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, I mean,
So
I
how
was
did you
young.
find that as that first head chef role? How was that as a young lad?
It was interesting. It was. I guess you're learning how to manage the kitchen. Yeah. You're learning about staff. You're learning about costs. Yeah, you're learning all that side of it. And then, at the same time, you're trying to define a style and create your own sort of style. So, it was difficult. It was really difficult. And, it put a lot of pressure on my relationship at the time as well. It was, sort of giving it everything. I thought, I've got this opportunity now. And, I felt like I was giving this opportunity as well. Obviously, Andrew, the owner, obviously, saw something in me and saw that I'm good for it.
Possibly good, didn't you?
Yeah, exactly that. Yeah, so I wanted to give it 110%. So, I dived in there and just I guess worked. The first shift, the first sort of stint, I think I did close to 2 months, just solid, without a day off. It was just relentless, and you're learning everything. You're learning that you bollock the staff. They're not going to want to come into work. You're learning.
So you go from just from being a chef, and going to work, doing your shift on the stalls, whatever it might be, to now actually looking after pretty much everything. It's like being a business owner, isn't it, I suppose.
Yeah,
you've got staff to look after, you've got costs, you've got
your own little
training, you've got everything.
That's it. Yeah, 100%. So it was big, and it was I was 25 when I took it on, so it was it was quite young, I guess, for it. But it was a massive learning curve, and I guess it sort of helped model me, it helped me mature as an adult.
Any sort of nightmare moments then as a young lad? Anything like you thought, any big fuck ups or anything that you maybe think, I did that let that happen? Or I don't know. Just thinking as a young lad, there must be some. Was there anything where you thought? Or you reflect back now and you think, why did I do that? Or how did I survive that moment? Or was the owner pretty decent? Was the owner back you and help?
No, the owner, he was all for me. He was great. He was very supportive, and
so it wasn't a crazy pressureful environment.
No, not at all. And it wasn't mad busy. It was it was busy. Friday, Saturdays you were full, but it was still sort of quite under the radar Hipping Hall at the time. So it was, it wasn't crazy busy. It was a good sort of time to get learning, and I guess it was still evolving as a venue as well. It opened up the sort of another 5 bedrooms whilst I was there, and it was always stuff sort of changing and whatnot. So it was a good place to be part of in terms of learning that. I don't think there was anything too major. There's some dishes I look back and question, but I don't think there was anything sort of too major, or maybe held on to chefs for a bit too long. Should have let them go a bit earlier than I should have done. But it was, like I said, it was learning. I think it was one thing that you do learn as a head chef is if you go in and start sacking people, or people walk out on you, you're doing the work. Exactly. It seems sort of stacks up. So I think you learn your management. Just managing
that and that time process as well of feeling your way into it, isn't it? And then learning, who you want to keep necessarily, and who you don't, and this and the other. But I suppose so. Hipping Hall was a restaurant before you joined. Then was that? Did it have any rosettes? What was the style? What was the vibe of the place? Obviously, you left and it had been awarded 4. That's right. Rosettes. You got it. It's 4 rosettes. Is that right?
Yeah. So when I started, they were under inspection to lose the 3rd rosette.
Oh, right. Okay.
So I think it was. I think they were trying to get people in to try and help retain the 3rd rosette, basically. So which you managed to do straight off the bat, which was great. Not saying I wasn't down to me, but they managed to keep the 3rd rosette straight off the bat, which was brilliant. And then when I took over again, we actually paid AA to come in, which I don't.
How does it work then? How does it work that with it? Obviously, everyone talks about Michelin, but then AA, how does it work with them?
Well, I think I think they're a fantastic awarding body because you can actually progress with them a bit. You can learn with them, and they can give you guidance. But once you get to 3, then they're not you need to do this to get to 4. This will get you 4.
But there is a little bit more of a criteria in terms of how you go through.
Yeah, definitely. Whereas with Michelin, they'll come, the lead will go, and then you're like, fingers crossed in February.
See what happens.
Yeah, exactly. Whereas AA will sit you down and be like, we're giving you 3 rosettes because this was great, this was good. I really like this dish. well, I wasn't sure on that, or felt like.
And are the different inspectors then completely?
Yeah, massive. Yeah,
so
totally different.
Vibe,
totally different. And like I said, we paid for AA to actually come in, so we had like one of the heads of AA come in, and then I could cook them.
Like a bit of a consultation, a bit of feedback.
Yeah, exactly that. So yeah, we could pay them to eat. I think it was 3 starters, 3 mains, 3 desserts, and it cost about 750 quid. I think it cost. But they give you feedback, and obviously for us it was important. Like we didn't want to lose 3 rosettes.
You wanted to grow the restaurant and the prestige of it and stuff. So
yeah, definitely. So
it's very different to Michelin.
Yeah, massively different. But when we did that sort of first inspection, which was like a few months after taking over, the inspector actually was like, "Oh, great, all 3 rosette," and he was like, "This dish," he was like, 4, easily 4. He was like, and if I saw it in a 5, he was like, I wouldn't think twice, sort of thing.
So is it the full experience, or is it just purely cooking, or is it?
It's a little bit of a mixture. They do say it's not about having ironed white tablecloths and this and that and silver service and all that sort of stuff. But it's I think there's definitely a little element of that to it. I think if you've got the right setting, the right environment, there's Michelin starred taco restaurants out there, but I don't think they'll be getting 4 rosettes and stuff like. So yeah, I think there's definitely a little bit of the service side of it is definitely a lot more so, and I think obviously they have like wine awards and whatnot as well for restaurants. So it's I think it's the whole sort of package, the whole experience which gains you your rosettes.
So in that time at Hipping Hall, obviously we're gonna have to talk about MasterChef, mate, because everyone will want to know how that works from a program point of view. So 2018, MasterChef the Professionals. How did that come about?
So at the time we had the Wild Smith Hotels had launched Forest Sides, and the company was growing. So we'd taken on sort of like a marketing consultant who he used to sort of look after a lot of the PR basically instead of having a PR company, you just someone else is doing it all for you. And he was super keen for me to go on there. I think he realised
spill my drink all over myself.
It's good. It's a Friday morning.
There we go. Friday morning. It's Friday 5 p.m. launching soon.
So he was basically, I guess he saw the benefits of television, and I said, why don't you apply for MasterChef? So I was put it off, and and then eventually I was sort of gave in.
So how long had you been at Hipping Hall before this happened? So 2018.
So it's been about 4 years.
So age-wise, why?
28, 9, 29. So you said,
do you fancy going on MasterChef?
Basically, yeah.
So what's the how does that work? Is it an audition process, an application process? Is it
you got to apply to begin with. Right. Like it's they'll email like all restaurants and whatnot.
Do you want invite people in?
Yeah, pretty much. So we'd had the email through, and I think most restaurants get it. And so I had the email through, and he'd offered me to do it. I said I'll have a look at it, and it was like, I'm not filling all that in. I tell you what, you fill in the application form. It was huge. It's like 20 pages. Yeah.
Oh, wow. What on?
Yeah. Oh, I don't know. To be honest, I started reading the first few pages, and I was like, Jesus, I'm not doing it. Yeah. So I tell you what, you fill it all in. I was like, all my bio anyway, my background. So I was like, you fill all the application form, and if they ring me, I'll answer the phone. So it was like, all right, deal. So obviously fully expecting to never get a phone call. And then they rang me up and was like, Can you make it to Edinburgh tomorrow?
Edinburgh.
I was like, no, I can't. No. They were like, we've just come across your application, and we've Manchester interviews were like last week, so you've missed out on that. And I was like, well, I'm not coming to Edinburgh, so I'm working. I've got a restaurant to run, so I was like, sorry, I can't do it basically. And then they rang us back and can you do a Zoom interview? So I was like, all right then, So I did a Zoom interview with him, and that seemed to have gone all right, and they said, we'll get back in touch, and it just carried on being another phone call and another phone call,
next stage.
Yeah, pretty much. And then eventually they called me up, and I was like, it was absolutely, we were absolutely rammed. We had like a full lunch service, we had a full dinner service, and at Hipping Hall we used to go to like this little place just down the road where it was like about a 15-minute drive down the road, where we used to like hand pick loads of like, you know, salad leaves and like vegetables and whatnot. Like it was all sort of organically grown there, and they used to let us just like walk around, hand pick whatever we wanted at whatever sort of size it was, at growth, you know, stage of its growth and whatnot. You pick all the ingredients, you know, it was a busy one, and you know, the greenhouses are like red hot. It was like the middle of summer, and we was like well in the shit. One of the lads was like, "Oh, I need this, this, and this for tonight," and it's like, right, I'll go out then. So it was like, you know, driving down there, I was like going through the greenhouse covered in mud and whatnot. And they was like, rang me up. They were like, just ringing to tell you you're on MasterChef, and I was like, all right, great. They were like,
not really that bothered.
Is that it? I was like, I'm a bit busy, to be honest. I was like, can you call me tomorrow?
Love it. So it wasn't necessarily something you'd looked at in your career and thought, you know what, I'd really love to do MasterChef. It was actually something that sort of stumbled across, and
100%.
If anything, was it like a, oh shit, I've got to go and do this now, or was it? Did you get excited for it in the end when you realised?
I think once I got down there, like, I think I was pretty excited for it. And obviously, I'd sort of gone back and like rewatched it. I always tried to watch it when I could,
especially the Professionals one.
Yeah, definitely. I always tried to watch it, but so I've like, gone back and rewatched it, and I was like,
they're not interested in obviously tasting or cooking or anything before. It's just
right. Just straight up into
in.
That stage.
Skills test, was it for pros or not?
Day one. So, well, I mean, I think like what people don't see is the travelling behind the scenes.
Because where's it filmed?
So it's all in London. Right, it was in London. I think they moved it. No, it's still in the same place. I think it was Great British Menu that moved location, wasn't it? But so it's all in London. And obviously they want you down there the day before, and then obviously you can't, you won't be going home until you finish filming on the night, sort of thing. So just like I think just to get that in, like everyone that's like in London, great, jump on the tube, there you are. But everyone that's like anywhere else, you've got to come in, 100%, like come staying in a hotel the night before. You're up at like 6:30 in the morning to get to filming for 7 o'clock.
Than just getting the tube and getting in.
Yeah, exactly. So basically jumped. I went down to the train station.
And is there any like? Sorry to jump in. Like, is there any like training or any like briefing? Or is it just literally like, here you go, thrown straight in at the deep end? Like, this is the plan today. You're going to do your skills test in front of Marcus and Monica, and just like turn up, or is there more behind the scenes where you can prep and plan a little bit, and you do know what's going on, or is it? Just trying to work out from behind the scenes, not to give spoilers away, but just interesting.
Of course, So it's like, basically like day one when you're there, they give you a bit of a tour around the studio, but you're like, everything's going on. You walk into where you do your skills test part. Yeah. So they're showing you all that. And
is it as daunting as it looks on TV?
Without a doubt, the worst thing I've done in my whole career. Like, I could not think of anything worse. I nearly didn't go back and do the festive one because they said that we're going to do a skills test.
So what was your skills test then? What did you have?
Mine, I had to do a caramelised pineapple with like a nut garnish or like a sugared nut garnish.
Making caramel.
Else. Yeah, I can't remember what else it was.
In that sort of pressure of that kitchen is like...
Yeah, oh God, yeah.
No trial runs, just
no
what you
trial
see is what you get on the on
and
TV.
It was... We actually did like picking straws as well. So that was it. So it was the first time you're in the actual studio. They walk in and they're like, this is where you're doing, this is what you do to switch this one. Is this here, is that there, is this here? And you all just like walk out and you're just like, what the hell just happened? Like, where is everything? So anyway, obviously.
Pick straws of who's going first.
Pick straws, old numbnuts over here gets a short straw.
Goes first.
In a walk.
Straight in.
And you walk straight in. Honestly, like, you're shaking. I was trying to put your
And have you met like Marcus and Monica and that yet? Or not?
No.
So you're straight in, here you go.
So, and then they just
Intense,
stood there,
just
like, all three of them staring at you.
Mr. Wallace.
Yeah, Mr. Wallace.
There you go. Hot topic of this. At the moment, nearly flipping heck. We'll talk about him in a bit. So it's just in, like, everyone's staring at you and just like...
100%. Yeah, the cameras are on you, lights are on you. There's like this mountain of people that you've not seen before.
And you survived, or did you fuck it up? Your caramel?
I did all right. I did all right. I did all right. I think look well when I saw like Marcus do his one, 'cause it was one of Marcus's skills tests. I was pretty damn close actually.
Right.
And I think it got decent enough. It wasn't enough to push me to the top, and it wasn't enough to put me at the bottom. And it was brilliant.
And is there like a green room then, like before and after your skills test? Is there any like conferring, even though you drew the short straw, does everybody know what they're doing before they go in? Or
No. Then I went off and sat in another room by myself for like.
So you don't know what you're doing
hour.
until you get in.
No,
so you get in. Mark says, right, you're going to make this, and you go, shit.
Yeah, and then you're sent off somewhere totally different afterwards, so you can't tell any of the other guys or whatever.
Right, makes sense.
So yeah, it's all that. It is. People walk in, they've genuinely got no idea what they're cooking. There's no pre-warning.
So it's not like X Factor and Britain's Got Talent or whatever. Well, it's all sort of pre-staged and set up. So that's cool. So obviously you got to the final.
Yeah.
So how long did that process take to the final? How long was filming? How long was you spending on the show in terms of from that first skills test to the final? How long did that process take? I think
the whole thing sort of worked out. For me, it was about 2 months, the whole thing. Yeah. I think I was the last. I was like group 8. So when I did it, there was 48 chefs. I think. I think it's down to like 32 now, or 36 or something. Yeah. So it was 48, and I was like group 8, the final group, basically. So obviously, which was good and bad. So for me, it was like my journey was like continuous.
Yeah, whereas the people that did the first episode.
Yeah, they're waiting like 4 weeks to go back again. So like at least I was sort of in the swing of things.
Fair enough.
So that was all right. But yeah, the whole thing was about 2 months old thing for me, maybe just over, and it was a
good experience.
It was a fantastic experience. Yeah, and the time my wife was pregnant.
Right. Okay.
So they had to keep pulling me aside because she was due 10 days after the final. Right. Basically, so they were like, if you get to the final, like, what happens if your wife goes into hospital, sort of thing. And I'm like, I should be all right. Yeah, I'll just stay and cook. But knowing in my heart of hearts, I'll be straight on the train. Like, but I had to keep telling them that I'd be.
Tell the producer, otherwise you got voted out.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I had to keep saying I was all good with it.
Brilliant.
But yeah, I mean, it was a big process, and like I think it is. Like I said, behind the scenes, you don't see it as much. But like, for me, it was all shot Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday.
Right.
Obviously depending on what you were doing that week, but that was like the filming days. So I'd be on a train at like 6 o'clock in Preston, going down to London, have a night overnight there, and then like Thursday night I'd be, back on the train again up north, and then I'd be going into HIP. Obviously, I had HIP and all to run.
The restaurant hadn't fallen to pieces while she was filming.
So I was in there, obviously trying to run the restaurant, and I was like, trying to practice the dishes and stuff like that. I was going to
say, so do you get a chance to? Do you practice a lot what you're going to do on MasterChef?
You do, some stuff you can.
And is it like obviously for challenges predetermined challenges that like signature dishes or whatever it might be? Is it stuff that you've created, or is it stuff that you would adapt maybe from your restaurant, or stuff that or is it brand new ideas? Like how do you manage that in terms of creating stuff for a TV program?
Bit of a mixture, yeah.
And are you like, again, not to be too cynical, but do they tell you what to do, or is it literally just free for all, go and do your own thing?
Just do your own thing. Yeah. You
so it's not like overly produced, and it's not like
no. It's if you just send them a recipe and that's it, they'll get you all the ingredients in, and then you pray to the gods you ordered everything right. But most of the time, I mean, I'm sure if you ever speak to any of the other contestants, they'll all say the same thing, like jump on the train home and you're writing the recipe for next week, because they're like, do all these recipes, and if you get through, you've got all your recipes there. But then you're just like, if I get knocked out, I'm not writing. And it takes ages. You have to write everything. Like, I want a spatula, I want a whisk, I want 3 medium-sized whisking bowl, mixing bowls. So you literally got to write everything. It's like down to like, I didn't put salt on one day.
Oh shit!
No, there wasn't salt on my bench, sort of thing. Like it is just literally it's everything. You have to write absolutely everything.
Was there any sort of task or challenge on there that was like really out of your comfort zone? Did you do like any of the street food stuff, anything different like that?
We didn't. Get in your, that sort of come like afterwards for us. Yeah, I think that come like a year after. We didn't do that. We were like went off to like restaurants. Went off to like Michelin star restaurants. Yeah. So
where did you go? Where was
I was at Limpstone Manor.
Right. Okay.
So absolutely beautiful place. Yeah. I mean, Michael Caines was someone that I've looked up to throughout my career, and I've always thought his food looks phenomenal. So it was just great incredible to go, and that was sort of like just long. It'd only been going for about a year, I think, at the time. So it was a great place to sort of go and see it at the early stages and whatnot. And they were brilliant. Like, they were super welcoming, and one day weren't overly. One day something had gone wrong, and we all got sent out the kitchen.
Oh, shit. Brilliant.
I think someone got a bit of a bollocking, but no, it was brilliant. Like, it was a beautiful place.
Yeah, because that must be difficult for a chef to invite people like that in a TV program into their kitchen.
Yeah, because it just took over
whilst
for
they're
like
still
3
doing
days. Like,
normal service, really, I suppose, isn't it? Would they tell the guests that that's happening or not?
Yeah, so I think like all of them are just like invited.
Right.
So I don't think they even
service.
pay sort of thing. I think it's more just like all the guests turn up and it looks like
makes sense.
Spoiling all the magic here, aren't I?
No, mate, no, it's good. It's just me geeking out, really. Just thinking, that's how it works. So, but obviously you did well, obviously. So you ended up in the final. Final four, not a bad lineup.
Final four, yeah, bloody hell, yeah, Jesus.
Yeah.
Against it there, I think. It was, it was a super impressive lineup. But I think more than anything, like, we all got along so well.
Yeah.
Which just, really added to it.
You still keep in touch with people now
all
from
of them,
it?
all of them. So
for those that don't, our BBC iPlayer 2018.
Yeah, I don't think it's even on there now.
Is it not on there
No,
anymore?
I know, yeah. I think they're all moving on to Netflix, but it's
right, okay.
I'm at a stage where I think it's like our season's sort of not on Netflix, but it's not on iPlayer either. So
it never even happened, mate.
No, exactly. Yeah, that's it.
So final,
yeah.
Talk to me about the duck.
Yeah.
Sorry, mate.
It's all right. No, I mean it was one of those. Like it was. Everyone fucks up, and that was probably the worst possible day to fuck up. But so obviously overcooked the duck. But it was one of those. Like I'm not saying it wasn't me.
Oh, here we go.
It was when they're filming. Like if you got a blender on, they'll switch your blender off or ask you to turn your blender off. Or if you got timers going off.
Cook in a studio.
Yeah, and
they'll ask you to redo stuff
with a big camera, and obviously they don't want all the background noise there. And so there were times where they're like, you blend in something, you're like, I need to give this a good blend for 5 minutes on full whack, and then they just like walk over and switch it off to do an interview. And
do they make you like redo things if they don't capture it for the shots or something like? Oh.
No, that's just on there. Pretty much every contestant pretty much has their own cameraman on it.
Right, okay. Fair
so I think they just capture like so much. It must take hours to go through at the end of it.
Must be mad.
Yeah.
And then, obviously, from a judging point of view, I'm guessing it's all stone cold by the time they eat it, or what? How does that work?
Yeah, pretty much there's like a couple of times where you actually cook and it's hot.
So does that affect have you got to like plan any resting time into that of when you actually might get served to the judges and stuff?
Pretty much, and I think
do they take that into account? Like the judges,
they do, yeah. I mean, obviously, like there was one of them where we cooked as the final 12.
Yeah.
And I was like the last one. My dish was like the last one. I'd done like this super delicate sea bream dish. Obviously, it sat there and I put a timer on my bench, and it was 2.5 hours from by the time I plated it up to being stood in front of the judges.
No way.
And
it's very stale.
Yeah, God, yeah, probably terrible. But Greg started eating it, and he was like, "Oh, yeah, I think this fish is a bit over." And Marcus is like, he was like, "Well, what is it? Because of the time?" And he was like, "Yeah." So you're like, So we didn't even talk about it after that sort of thing. It's just like not involved in it. Yeah. But I mean, they don't. But I think you just got to learn, and I think this is what as you said before, you're cooking restaurant dishes or you're cooking dishes for TV, and it's a mixture of both because like you want to showcase your style, you want to showcase your ethos. At the same time, you want to do stuff works because it's a risky game if it doesn't. And then obviously you got to think of stuff that can it sit there for an hour and then me pour like a lukewarm sauce on it and it all tastes nice sort of thing. So
difficult that then.
Yeah. So I used to leave my dishes. So at the beginning, like I was cooking it like a restaurant. I'd be like pan frying things, finishing it off to order it, all going on the plate like hot. And I'd be like plating up this hot dish sort of thing that's ready to eat. And then it would sit there for an hour and a half sort of thing. So it was like, you start learning then. Like, you're like, I can't cook like this. I've got to tweak how I'm
and what were Monica and Marcus like then?
Both really nice to be fair.
Do you get a chance to learn off like those types of people or not? Or
not
is
massively,
it more a case of them just telling you how good or how shit your food is? Really?
Pretty much. No, I think obviously you can take the feedback on board, can't you? And obviously put that into your style and into your next dishes. Yeah. But they're not cooking or they're not in it. So you're not like I guess learning from them in that sort of sense. But you're learning from them in the way that they're telling you this is good or you need that little bit more balance or it's I think like there was a lad this year that they kept on saying to him like just need a bit more finesse sort of thing, like just have a bit more, and he never did.
There's always that one chef, don't there, that needs just finessing up type things. Right, okay, so Monica and Marcus were all right. Mm-hmm. So was our friend Mr. Wallace. Come on, I can't not ask you.
It's a funny one, like I guess what I've said from like the moment, obviously, I was out on the show and then people start asking questions.
I bet everyone was like messaging you straight away. With people like, when stuff comes out about him, it's like, people messaging you straight away because you've been on the show. Like,
I genuinely, on the day that it came out, I had 5 messages just saying,
it's great.
Did Greg touch you? Yeah. And I was like, I'm not a grass.
No comment, Your Honour. Oh, brilliant.
I said he might have done, but I'm not a grass. But it was like I said to everyone from day one of being on the show, and everyone obviously, people dive in and ask questions about it. And when people do ask about Greg, it's like, what was he like, sort of thing. And I'm like, he's Uncle Knobhead. Like, every family's got one. Yeah. Like, he's there, he's coming in, he's doing stupid jokes. Like, but he dumbs the show. He doesn't dumb it down, but he brings the show down. So it's like for Joe Public. Like, he's this bloke that stood there. He's a everyday greengrocer that just speaks like that, doesn't he? Like he's, but he's like that. He was, on the show he was like, you stood there waiting to film. The camera's about warming up, and then all of a sudden Greg will just like bust out like the worst dad joke going like, and it like breaks it up a little bit, and you think puts you a little bit more at ease. So for me, like. I didn't mind him, and I didn't mind his sense of humour and whatnot. Obviously, offended a few more people, but it's
well, I had to ask you, mate. Sorry to put you on the spot like that. Love it. So there you go. Right, so brilliant. So thanks for giving us a bit of a whirlwind tour into your career and bit of behind the scenes on MasterChef and all sorts. So that brings us probably full circle to where you're at now. So tell us a little bit more about Aven and sort of your ambitions with that place and where you're at with that sort of side of your career now, really, I suppose.
Yeah, definitely. So Aven was, I guess that was, it got offered to me when I'd left Hipping, and initially I'd said no, and I'd said no sort of multiple times.
For what reason? Just didn't.
I wanted to step away from restaurants. My wife had said to me.
So you got a young kid, or
exactly, and she said it as like a passing comment, but she was like, the time we were closed Monday, Tuesday at Hipping Hall, and she was like, when India's older, then you're only going to see her at like 3:30 on a Monday night and 3:30 on a Tuesday night, like onwards sort of thing. And I'm like, it's no way to have a sort of family. So I was like, right, I'm going to make a decision to obviously launch Faro Catering, and that was when I launched the catering company, so I could take a bit more of a step back from being in kitchens. And then Aven kept on getting offered to me, and it got to about the 4th time, and I was like, look, I'll come and see the restaurant, but I've said no already, sort of thing. So I don't think we're going to get anywhere. So I went along, I viewed the restaurant, I thought, it is a nice little space.
It's a
good little size, and it had that sort of Hipping Hall vibes to it, sort of in terms of like what I could do with it, and I guess what I could carry on doing. And then I'd sort of left there, and then I bumped into Paul Heathcote, and I was chatting to him, and he had sort of said that I was launching a catering company and viewing the restaurant. He was like, I've got a unit just around the corner if you're interested. So I went and viewed that with him, and I was like, I'll take it. I'll put the catering company in here, basically. So then I was like, well, I'm around the corner from that restaurant now, so it just kept on weighing on my mind, and I just thought, let's just go for it.
So how long have you had Aven then for now? Since
it's about coming up to 4 years.
Right,
Obviously his previous guy. Sorry, coming up to 3 years since previous guys was 263.
Yeah, until it's changed to the new identity, I think.
Exactly. Yeah.
And what has the change been? Has it been menu? Has it been style? Has it been?
It's not been like a massive thing. It was more. There was 3 of us involved initially, and then the other person he was the original owner of 263. We basically bought him out, and so it was like it was nice, and I hated the name 263. I hate numbers in restaurants.
What's it mean?
Yeah, exactly. So changed name, and it was named after his son's birthday as well.
Right, okay. So for you it doesn't.
It had no sort of meaning to me, and it was do we keep the name? Do we not? Like we've it was busy. Like we built up this sort of brand, and everyone heard of it, and
but
your own stamp on it. Exactly. So we changed the name over to Aven. Which it had to be honest, it had a bit of a rocky relaunch because when we sort of relaunched it, everyone was just like, 263's closed, like, and it was like. no, we're not. Like, we're still here. We're still doing the same thing, but we just changed our name and, you know, changed a few bits of the decor and, you know, so it was a bit, we didn't quite get the relaunch right, which was, you know, it was just a fuck up on our behalf, really. No two ways to put it. But, so it was, it took a bit to sort of get going again. And then, recently we just had reviewing the Times from good old Giles Corran, which is just,
nice.
Been
Positive
phenomenal.
reviews,
It's just been mind-blowing.
And I think, again, this is me being stereotypical and being biased, north-south divide, but it does feel much more difficult to get that recognition outside of London and outside. Because, I mean, I eat at places in London where they're on the Michelin Guide or they've got these rave reviews, and I go and they're nice places and they're great. And then I go to a place up in the north and I don't know whether it's just because I am northern and whether you just feel a bit more at home, I don't know. But I just feel like it's a bigger struggle to get that recognition outside of the city centre. So to get like a review like that and it must be massive for a restaurant like yourselves that's in Preston as a gastro city. I mean,
who'd have thought?
Exactly, there you go. So you're just south of the city, aren't you?
No, we're bang in the centre.
Centre, right, okay.
So Winkley Square is, I guess, one of the oldest parts of the town. It's all city, So it's we're just off that. So it's a lovely location, but. Yeah, it's Preston, isn't it? It's a funny location, but I mean, it works for what it is because there's nothing too much like it around us.
Exactly.
So we are quite unique in the area. And it's great. It's a beautiful sort of old building that it's in, and it just it's got a nice feel to it.
I'm glad it's got the relaunch is settled.
Yes, we needed.
Oh, super stuff, mate. Super stuff. Great to hear. So we'll move on to our Cellar 101 piece. I believe you've prepped something for us. So
I've got two things.
Two things. Doubling up, right? Okay. So Cellar 101. So basically, you've got the opportunity to convince me to place your item or items, if you brought two along, into Cellar 101 that can't come back again, that you want to abolish from the hospitality or restaurant trade or whatever it might be. Cheers,
yeah.
So I see you've got some props.
I have.
Go on, fire away.
And what I'm actually going to... Yeah? This is going to be my first one.
Oh, this is your demo. All right, okay. Flipping out. Oh, very nice.
There we go.
Right, okay.
It's a bit dirty, that one.
That's all right. Don't worry about it. A few pea stains on there, mate,
Going to a restaurant,
right?
And the waiter coming along,
and
putting a napkin on my lap,
putting a napkin on your lap,
straight into 101. I just think I'm 36 and I can put my own napkin on my lap. It's just a bit strange, isn't it? Like, why do you need someone to, come along and just unfold it and just put this napkin over your crotch? It's just very strange.
Little attention to detail, though. A little bit of service.
It's not though, is it? It's just very weird. Like, I've never met this bloke before, and he's now inches from my private area. So I just don't need it. I'm a
it's not Greg Wallace putting it on, mate. Don't worry about it. See, but that little attention to detail, though, that little bit of extra sort of service.
But there's loads of things you can do that can add little attention to detail that isn't, just swooning in and doing something like that. It's just not for me.
If I'm dining at the Ritz, I would expect that. You know what I mean? I'd expect that little bit of.
Again, I'm like, as soon as I sit down, I'm like, napkin straight on
yourself, so nobody else.
You're not doing it, yeah. I don't know what it is. I don't know what the feeling is about it, but I just find it such a bizarre thing that someone else has to put my napkin over my legs for me.
What about if I stand up, go to the toilet and come back, and then your napkin's folded nicely?
That's attention to detail. Right, and if they swoop back in to put it over my crotch.
Yeah, what if you sit back down and then you go, oh, just cover that wet patch up, sir.
Yeah. Cover up those little drips.
Right, I don't know. I'm half and half on that, because part of me thinks if I'm going to not every restaurant, like if I'm at my local bistro, then maybe not. But if I'm going all out and I'm spending a fortune, do I want that little touch, that little more?
Would that make you feel special though? That someone's invaded your space.
It's invaded my privacy. I suppose it depends where I'm at. There's a context to it for me. But I do understand it is a little bit weird. Like when you stood up then and came over to me, I was like, okay, what's going on here?
What are you doing here?
But then we are in a little podcast studio in the middle of Warrington. Like,
and how do you feel with your little napkin?
I feel like I'm into it. I feel like I'm ready to go, ready to eat some food, mate. That's what I feel. But yeah, I'm half and half. I'm 50-50.
We can tear it in half.
We can tear it in half.
Well, we'll see how we get on with the second.
Go on, let's move on to your second one then. What have you brought here? You got a little tub of something.
Some Shalsing rice wine vinegar.
Rice
wine.
Right.
And
let's have a look.
It's not about the product itself.
M&S?
M&S, yes.
Only the best?
Only the best. It's the only place we shop. I wish my wife didn't have it as the only place she shops. But so it is chefs.
Yeah.
That have been to Thailand for a couple of weeks.
I love it.
And they come back.
It's made in China though.
Is it?
Yeah, it's made in China, packed in Malaysia. So
yeah,
good work, M&S.
Been to Asia. Been to Asia for a couple of weeks. And they come back and their whole food philosophy is now absolutely driven by Asian cooking.
Is that because you went to Asia and didn't do that?
Well, no, I guess no. For me, it was like the exact opposite. Like
right.
so I went and I saw they had heritage to the food, and I saw they had all these dishes. And what that made me do was like come back and do the opposite. That's when I started diving into the background of British cooking,
local produce,
and tying in what's what is in the area, what are we cooking with, like what did we used to cook with, Miss Beaton's old sort of recipes where you go through that cookbook and they'll be like so many ingredients that people wouldn't recognise these days because it's something that you got to go out and forage and pick.
Yeah, talk to me about how it's used then in a negative way. Like how it's used on everything, or what does it add to a dish?
It's not that ingredient in particular. It's just Asian ingredients.
Okay,
just
so not necessarily
the chef being like this is now influencing the way that I cook for the rest of my career. Just going on holiday somewhere.
But isn't that the beauty of food, going and taking inspiration?
Yeah, draw some inspiration, but I mean, you don't make it your whole life. I use Japanese ingredients.
I'm going to say, do you use any sort of Asian influences?
Yeah, but it's not the forefront of my cooking. It's there as a little side note, a little seasoner, a little hint in the background of something, or a little.
So it's more, would you say, maybe British chefs with no link to the culture or the heritage of Asian cuisine that are using it to determine their style and determine their personality on a plate.
Yeah? I think that's what it is for me. I think I went to Thailand for 2 weeks and I come back.
I had a scorpion on a stick and I'm going to as part of my tasting menu.
Yeah, now that's all I'm cooking.
Right, okay, interesting. I get
you're on the fence on both of these, aren't you?
I'm like half and half. Do you know what? The Asian influence, again, it's context, isn't it?
There's context.
I'm not throwing the napkin into 101, and I'm not throwing in the rice wine into 101. But the context of what you've put it, I can agree with.
Yeah.
So I can agree with having influence from a bit of travel.
I get that.
So the context of it, I can agree with.
Yeah.
As a whole, as an individual item, I probably can't. So, what I'm going to do to play devil's advocate, just because I do quite like that little bit of style, that little bit of...
There's other things we can do
with
napkins.
No, but it's just that little... It's just that little bit different, isn't it? I'm not expecting it at every place. If I go somewhere and someone does it, I'm not going to go.
Lean across as well. They unfold it and then they lean across almost.
Right, I'm making a decision.
You could slip a kiss on the cheek into them.
You can kick your napkin. That's not going in. But an easy, I'm going to say easy influence.
Okay, yeah.
An easy influence without any real soul or passion or heart. It's a case of,
feels like a cheat code.
Yeah, and just throwing Asian ingredients on top of everything.
It does.
I'm going to allow that because, personally as well, I'm not a massive Asian cuisine fan as well. So,
God,
so there you go.
I got lucky there.
Yeah, you got lucky, mate. You got lucky. So I'll throw the M&S rice wine in. But I'm having my little napkin. I don't mind it. Once every so often, not everywhere, but once every so often.
Yeah, fair.
Top man. There we go. We'll go halfway.
I'll take it. That was my initial one anyway, and the napkin was a thought.
So before we finish, the most important part of the day, mate. I hope you're ready for this.
I am ready for this. Yeah.
So aperitif or a pair of teeth.
It's a brilliant name, by the way.
Insert jingle here.
Brilliant name.
So, 3 goals, best of 3.
Mm-hmm.
Winner basically has the photo with the bottle of wine. Loser has the photo with the aperitif. So simple as that. It's big stakes, mate. Big stakes.
Right, okay.
So I'll give you a term, and straight away, whatever that term is, you've got to decipher whether it's aperitif, something to do with champagne or champagne making or the region. Some of these are like loose connections as well, by the way. Like they're not like bang on. Yeah, don't worry too much about it. Or aperitif, is it to do with dentistry? So first up. And I don't know what your dentistry knowledge is like. We had James Sherwin on from Wild Shop the other week, and he didn't tell me that he was his career before food was he was actually a nurse. So he was like, what? So he got the first 2 straight away. So we'll start off with. Let's start off with collarette. Collarette. Is that aperitif? Something to do with champagne or aperitif?
I'm going to go with aperitif.
Aperitif champagne. So collarette is the decorative foil or label that sits around the neck of a champagne bottle.
I thought it was.
There you go. There you go. 1-0. 1-0 Oli. Right. I need this one. Let's have a look.
Don't cheat down and pick something random.
Why?
Come on.
Should producer Steve. Right. Number 2. Furcation. Is it aperitif or aperitif?
You say it again, just because it rolled off your tongue so nice.
Furcation. Furcation. Some of these may be translated, may not be translated.
I'm going to go again, aperitif.
It's going aperitif. So furcation, apparently, is the area where a toothed root divides. Often a focus on periodontal treatments. One apiece. That makes it interesting now. Everyone's gripped. Everyone's on the edge of the seats listening, thinking who's going to be the winner. Ooh. So
Which
to
way
finish,
we're going to
go. I'm sure I was pissed when I came up with this idea. Right, let's go. There's a couple that I'm thinking. Eye of the partridge. Eye of the partridge.
Does it sound like neither?
Eye of the partridge.
Eye of the partridge.
Difficult one, this.
I know what my guess is.
I'm going to go with a pair of teeth.
Eye of the partridge. Translated to oil de perdrix.
Oh, come on.
Used to describe a pale pink colour in rosé. So it's a rosé champagne method, oil de perdrix. Right. And it translates to eye of the partridge. So 2-1, come on.
I mean, I don't know what it translates to in dentist terms. But
Eye of the partridge. There we go, mate.
Yeah.
2-1. Sorry, mate. Not everyone's a winner. There you go.
Aperitif it is.
There you go, mate. There's your aperitif with your napkin. I'll put it on your lap as well. Top man, Oli, it's been a pleasure, mate. Thanks so much for coming in.
Thanks for having
us. And all the best with the restaurant and everything. And thanks for a wonderful hour of discussing all sorts from Mr. Greg Wallace through to your career in. From Australia and France and everywhere, and thanks for joining in on the game at the end. That's been Aperitif, guys. Thanks for tuning in. Make sure you like, share, and subscribe, and we'll see you for the next episode. Cheers, guys.
Brilliant. It was great fun.
Top man. Thanks, mate.